With that, we begin Saturday Special with your host, Michael Zwerling. This is KSCO.
Josh Stevens.
Michael Zwerling.
Hi, Josh Stevens.
Greetings.
May I ask you a personal question?
All right, if you must.
Okay, no one's saying the D word. Are you willing to mention the D word?
What is that? The one regarding our
drought.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah, it's been too long. I'm at World Headquarters, and the lemon trees are just about dead.
That's a tragedy.
Because I didn't think that I had to water them during during the rainy season. And then I realized that there hasn't been a rainy season. And then I also realized that no one's talking about the fact that there hasn't been a rainy season. So let's continue our tradition of being on the leading edge of discussion here at your favorite radio station.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I want to do this, because the drought is a terrible thing.
It is, but, I have a feeling that we might make a recovery soon. It just, while everything might seem dry now, like, we've had, like, a pretty average winter up until about now. I mean, there has been some differences this winter around, though, because, like, think about the fact the grapevine, I believe, closed down twice this winter. If not had like a traffic control causing major delay because of how heavily it snowed up there. So it's like we traded with Southern California for climate.
Yeah, but I'm the one who has the dying lemon trees, and I love these lemons.
And it's
But I
citrus
guess what
season.
I need to do. But I guess what I need to do is just water them, regardless of what time of the year it is, right?
Yeah, but isn't the government going to tell you that's a no-no during certain parts of the day?
Not yet. In fact, maybe it was a really stupid thing that I asked you this personal question, because now the government is going to start thinking about not quarantine. That's another word we're going to talk about today. But rationing. May I ask you another personal question, Josh Stevens?
All right, let's follow it up.
Are you concerned about the coronavirus that's really taking hold as a true pandemic? Are you or not?
I mean, I'd say if we were to put it on a color scale, I'd say it's like a code, maybe yellow or orange. So like a little bit up there, but not entirely.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to get into that in full detail with probably one of the best guests we could ever have. The Nan Su, not a Nan Su, the Nan Su. But let's start the show officially.
Good morning, a brighter day is here. Good morning, may we bring you cheer.
We've got time, we've got tunes, we've got time, tunes, and temperature.
Get up and go, it's today, you know, on KSCO Radio.
Good morning, all you folks out there in KSCO Radio land. My name is Poor Old MZ. I'm welcoming you to hour number 1 of the Saturday Special on your favorite radio station. We're going to be talking about the coronavirus, probably the entire program today, with an ideal guest who's a reporter who's been on with us before from the Epoch Times, so do stay with us.
Good morning, now stay right here on KSCO Radio.
Receiving phone calls. I haven't even opened the phone lines. But anyhow, we appreciate that. We always appreciate our callers and listeners. Whom do we appreciate more, our callers or our listeners on your favorite radio station? Nah, that's like saying, what kid do you love the most? Anyhow, welcome to the Saturday special. Nan Su.
Oh, hi. Morning, Michael. Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're back, and that's great.
Well, first of all, let me ask you a question. Did
Yes.
you specifically design the music we just heard for today's program?
No.
That was a perfect music.
Yeah, that's our Crossfire jingle. When we're going to have something that's wait a minute, maybe that was inappropriate. Maybe we should have the special fanfare. This. It's like we're building up to something really.
Well, I think the music we heard was better. It was a little creepy.
Yeah, a little creepy. Yeah, that one. That's what I thought would be more appropriate for today. Anyhow, it's not something that we should make a joke about, and I know you're not. We're just trying to warm the audience up, as it were. And Steve in Capitola already wants to talk about the coronavirus. Steve, please don't be insulted if we don't take your call for a while, because I want to set things up with Nan here.
Oh, I warned him too. I was like, hey, you'll get to be first in line, so
good.
Get that spot.
Good. Okay, yes. So, if you want to call, if you want to be second and third and fourth, etc. in line, 479-1080. If you have a question or a comment about the coronavirus, because that is our topic today on the Saturday special. Let me remind people that Nan Su is a reporter, West Coast reporter, right, for the
Yes.
Epoch Times, Truth and Tradition newspaper that was originally set up by a group of people in Hong Kong, was it?
Originally set up by a group of people that coming out from China. We started the newspaper back in 2000, 2001, the time period, because we felt we need to establish an uncensored information channel in and out of China.
And believe me, I learned myself, not until last year. I should have realized that, of course, that kind of a government censors things, but wow. What I learned last year, it was actually the year before last, it was 2018, that I visited China and only was allowed in once because of my broadcaster status. No one told me that I wasn't supposed to say that, so it's okay. And I enjoyed the trip very much. We've talked about it a number of times. But we were shown only what the government wanted us to see. And increasingly, I mean, there's just no way around putting a muzzle on what's been going on in Hong Kong, which is a scary place to be now. It didn't used to be a scary place for many years. In fact, I was amazed for so many years after 1997 that Hong Kong continued under the ownership or the operation of the Red Chinese government, that it pretty much continued as a beacon of capitalism.
Well, that was the impression it was. It was actually the official impression the Chinese regime trying to create to the international society. China, it's a show. Basically, they try to put Hong Kong as a show window of freedom of Chinese people enjoying in China. But that's actually true. That's actually not true. Not true that through last year's protest, the protest actually been quieted down quite a bit because of the coronavirus outbreak. That's actually a benefit the Chinese government got from the coronavirus outbreak. But however, through the protest from May to December, almost 7 months of protest, the whole world sees how much the freedom that Hong Kong people enjoy under that overall propaganda painted impression of freedom by Chinese regime.
I see. Okay. So sort of setting the stage for where we are, what we're going to be covering today. Okay, where were you born?
I was born in Guangzhou, Canton, but my parents were born in Wuhan. So in the Chinese way, my hometown, it's supposed to be Wuhan. But in the American way, my hometown is supposed to be Guangzhou. That's the capital city of Canton, right next to Hong Kong. But however, my parents, if by Chinese way, my hometown is supposed to be Wuhan, which is the capital city of Hubei province, the current center of a pandemic.
Okay, let's talk about the pandemic. What was its genesis, do you believe? I mean, because who knows for sure, right?
Well, there's a lot of different stories going around, but apparently the international society really pay attention. It's right now there's more than 80 cities being quarantined in China, and there's 3 provinces, the entire province of the 3 provinces being quarantined. And that's what happened. People worry about their relatives and then how people live under that kind of a system. And also, I'm not sure if you understand the pandemic, it's really global. Now, yesterday, California Department of Health actually say there were 7,600 people, 7,600 people in California being asked self-quarantined. Now, they're not patients. They basically self-quarantine. They ask them to stay home, self-quarantine. Oh. Now, basically isolate themselves from the public because basically they have been in contact or exposed to either patients or the environment that's infected by the virus. Okay. 7,600. That's a lot. Yeah. In California. That basically tells us how much danger here, although we are across the entire Pacific Ocean on the other side of China, but what kind of a danger, the level of danger we are exposed to.
What is this doing and will do to the travel industry? I mean, I love to go on cruises. I don't think I want to go on a cruise for a long time, if ever.
Well,
the thought of being quarantined in your room, on a cruise ship is not my idea of something to spend a lot of money for.
Well, there was the typical example for that, the Diamond Princess, right?
I've been on it a number of times.
Yeah. There's a cruise ship. It's been there for a few weeks without being able to land to any nation. They go back and forth from Japan to Taiwan. They don't want them because they have hundreds of travelers being tested positive for the virus. There are 3,600 people, 3,600 guests on the ship, but they just last week they start getting released from the cruise ship because they send the medical teams into the ship. They test it out. They verify. If you are not tested positive, then they will let you go, and then they will go to like Americans. They take them back, and then they will be quarantined in the military base, like in San Diego, wherever whichever the military base, Air Force base they landed.
I mean, I can't fathom that. So that's why I'm staying home.
Well,
you too?
Well, absolutely. The travel industry is going to get a big hit this year, no doubt about that. And China's real estate, in case you go, do yourself a favor, call your own investment, your retirement, your 401k plan manager, and ask them if they are investing your money through MSCI, the index fund that follow in China. If they are doing that, ask them to sell the stocks and the mutual funds because it's going to be a big hit.
Oh my. All right, so while we're on prognostications, what else is going to happen? How serious is this? I had a talk with our esteemed engineer who knows everything about everything, Richard B. Luther II, this morning. and I was telling him that you were going to be the guest and what the subject was going to be, and he was telling me that it's not that serious even though it's very virulent for sure. It's not that serious that hardly anybody's dying from it. I said, wait a second, I've been hearing all kinds of news reports of people dying. No, those are people with compromised immune systems, apparently, according to Richard B. Luther II. So, mostly older people and so forth, right?
Yeah, most of people die so far the age of 50 or even 60s up, and they die from pneumonia. It's basically after being infected by the virus. Average, like in the Hubei province, they say it's about 2.9%.
Yeah.
But keep in mind
but that's sort of
that's the official number of from Chinese regime. You cannot trust the number.
It could be 10 times that.
It could be. We have done our own investigation in Wuhan city, and we found the actual number is much higher. But still, it's not our number. It's not the official number, and our number, it's a number that's basically casting the doubt of the numbers that being broadcasted by the Chinese regime. The global wise, the death rate is about 2.3%. But that's outside, when you're including the outside of China numbers.
Right. Well, what do you believe? Do you believe that what our esteemed engineer said is true, that no one wants to get a disease, obviously, but, you don't have a whole lot to worry about if you do get the disease unless there's some other underlying problem where your immune system is compromised? That's what the disease does do. Now, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think if in a normal society, without causing an outbreak, basically what happened in the Wuhan city is there was too many patients because they start dealing the problem too late. There was too many patients try to get into the hospital, but they cannot admit all the patients, so it end up a lot of people dying home. And I just heard the news a couple of days ago. There's a guy who knew he himself was infected, but he couldn't get to the chance to get himself into the hospital. He ended up so desperate he hung himself at home in Wuhan city. So that's it's a panic. You cannot say panic. It's not a human emotion, right? People worried.
It's among the strongest.
That's what drives Wall Street every day, right?
Exactly. Yeah. We're talking with Nan Su from the Epoch Times, a fabulous newspaper of truth, right? That originates. Well, here I'm looking at the Northern California edition. Obviously, people can subscribe, and they have online subscriptions and so forth. But you brought me a few of the actual newspapers. There's still some of us who just love to turn the pages of a real newspaper.
Yeah, we practice practice so-called traditional journalism, how news were reported like 40, 50 years ago. We believe that we are the journalists. We only practice journalism. We are not the politicians. We do not try to lead the society, but rather we just give people the factual news. So people
I believe that is true from what I have read. And I'm delighted to hear that journalism is not 100% dead in the world.
I'm not that pessimistic.
Good, yeah. But there are those who would probably say, I haven't talked to too many people, who would say that the Epoch Times, because it is not clearly anti-Trump, that it's pro-Trump, just by definition. If you don't say bad things about if the things that come across about our highly controversial president here in the United States are, if there isn't something negative, and I'm not saying there isn't, I haven't even read this thing, Trump's efforts to reform environmental impact statements draw cheers and jeers. Okay, to me, just in that headline alone, that's journalism.
Yep.
You're telling both sides.
Yes, we are. Yeah, the only thing that we did that's different than a lot of other media is we treat the President Trump the same way that we treat the President Obama like 10 years ago. When President Obama was elected, we got questions from the red state people living in red state asking, how can you put the President Obama's picture on the front page? And 8 years later, in 2016, we got a same question people ask us in the blue states, how can you put President Trump's picture on the front page?
Because they're so used to the media being biased.
That's right.
That's the. When I first took over KSCO 29 plus years ago, we were accused of everything. The chief of police, I think at the time, or the bank president, or something, accused us of having been taken over by the left. And I said, how can a station that has 3 hours of Rush Limbaugh, each weekday, be taken over by the left? It doesn't make any sense. And we're always called a conservative radio station. So I think we're doing something right. That's what I think. And so people are always looking for things to accuse you of, right? Having sold out to this or that faction or whatever. You want to go to the phones? What do you think?
Yeah.
All right, let's start the phone. Steve in Capitola. You didn't have to wait all that long. It's only 10:28 -6. So you only had to wait about 20 minutes, Steve in Capitola. But you are now on the Saturday special with Nan. How do you like that? I'm a poet in MZ. Steve.
I'm here.
Okay, Steve, you're on the air.
Sorry about that, Michael.
Okay.
I'm fascinated by this subject. I see it as the new apocalypse, the new zombie apocalypse, because I think there's a lot of hidden information. I think
Are you being facetious, Steve? Are you serious?
Can I have a little of both?
Sure.
Okay.
I just want to know what it is, what it's more of.
Okay. I think it's an incredibly epic event that's maybe underrated in its importance, because I think there's a movement to try to downplay this. I'm wondering if it can become a world pandemic, because they're playing it very tight. You don't very often see the government take control of things like quarantines and stuff with such accuracy as they're doing now. And MZ, I think anybody that takes a cruise right now is really, really bad timing. And I was going to take a cruise, so I'm canceling that idea. But what I want to know from the speaker is, there's an old saying: if only 1% of the people in the Bay Area in the ocean get hit by a shark attacks, it's not very likely, unless it's you. Unless you're the 1%. And that's how I look at it. Look at the demographic. Maybe it's only people over 50 that die of the virus, but everybody at KSCO is over 50, except for Josh.
That's right. They're not permitted to listen to KSCO unless they're at least 55, except for Josh. He's allowed to listen.
Look at the demographic of the employees at KSCO. The majority are over 50. So, it's like, yeah, that's us, man. And I hate to break it to you. So this whole thing about compromised immune system, well, there's a whole lot of people that are over 50, 55, or might have asthma, or might have, other things that make them not super physical athletes.
Well, that's exactly what our esteemed engineer, Richard B. Luther II, was telling me. It's not the disease itself isn't that horrible. It doesn't kill you unless you already have health problems that it exacerbates. Or
you're older.
Yeah,
or you're older.
Older people tend to have health problems that younger people don't. Yeah, that's true.
So I think this thing needs to be taken extremely seriously, and I think They should monitor and track it, and they should have multiple scientific backgrounds watching this thing, so it doesn't get spun by the media. I think one of the guests talked recently about they found that China had burned bodies of victims. They to keep the numbers.
You heard that, Nan?
Yes.
Yeah. God.
Yeah, so I think this is an awesome topic. I think it's extremely interesting. I'm really glad you've got it on. I don't know how similar it is to the zombie apocalypse, but I think the thing is, there's a lot of unknown about it. That's what makes it very mysterious, and I'll keep listening. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, there goes Steve in Capitola. Somebody's calling me. Who is it? Oh, well, I can't talk now.
Nick D.
Yeah,
Hello?
Nick in Royal Oaks, California. Hi, Nick.
Hi. There's a song, Space Age Sacrifice. It comes in with these old age people from Montrose. I want a confirmation. I hear this virus can come back, like 2 weeks after you've gotten over it. Have you heard anything about that?
Yes. That's one of the three categories that we are going to talk about today.
That's heavy. And I think this is a precursor to we ought to bring our jobs, keep our industry home.
Well, I think that's one takeaway for that.
Yeah. Okay. MZ, are you enjoying that street that got shut down?
Which one?
There's one that goes right to the ferry building.
I don't know about that. So I guess I'm not enjoying it, but I'll try to enjoy it later today.
Hey, we'll talk to you sometime on that.
Okay, thank you, Nick in Royal Oaks. Here comes Dan in PG, who has a question about, but then it doesn't say about what.
Good morning. Okay, that's true. I do have a question about the virus. And for your guests, I've been following this as well as I can on the Epoch Times, which I subscribe to online. Very informative. So, question for your guest. Given the closed character of the Chinese society, the control that the government has over information coming in and going out, it appears to me that's put, and the reports are pretty dramatically troubling coming out of China, but we're not getting complete information. To me, it appears to me that represents a big problem for the medical community and the rest of the world trying to get a handle on this, and concerned about the death rate, the progress of this disease as it China's been able to look at this over a longer time period, but we don't have access to good information. So certain assumptions are made about the death toll, how this disease progresses through an individual and through society. Is it, another question, is there any evidence that this may mutate, particularly mutate as it moves along through society? And the time period that it may linger in an individual, I've read in the Epoch Times about some people who were treated, then they tested negative, were released, and then a few weeks later they're positive again. So it reminds me a little of Chernobyl, the Chernobyl nuclear accident, when the Soviet Union was very reluctant to be frank in reporting that, and it made it very much more troublesome for the rest of Europe to deal with it. But that lack of information, how much is that hurting the effort internationally, the lack of frank information coming out of China?
Great question. What do you think, Nan?
Yes, I got a couple questions so far. I think that the general concern is about, it's similar. One is that, if the disease can come back after it's treated. Another one is about the information system in China. Right now, what happened is there are three categories of patients. Number one is that they actually tested, they are tested positive, and then they also have symptoms showing that they have the disease, right? They are infected by the virus. That's the first category. And the second category is they are tested negative, but they actually, if they do the CT scan, they will show that they are infected. And that's the second category. The testing we're talking about, it's called nucleic acid detection. It's a technology it's been developed after SARS virus outbreak of 2003. Now, there's a third category, very interestingly done. Basically, there are people who are already recover from the coronavirus infected disease, but they are still tested positive. Now, we don't know the answer. See, Chinese government have been letting these people out of hospital after they recovered, but however, while they are still tested positive. Now, we don't know if these people are actually still, even though they recovered, are they going to, they actually walking around, carry a contagious disease that's going to affect other people? We don't know, right? Because they're still tested positive. So that is the three category of patients we see, and which also give us the level of danger of this kind of disease. Now the information. Now, see, the information is really the major concern so far from the international society. Now, give you a little number. So far, the official number of China, it's more than 76,000 people being infected, and then 2,345 dead. That's the total death toll. Now.
That's about 3% or something.
Yeah. But now nobody can trust this number, because already from January 23rd, which was the day the Wuhan city, the pandemic center of this outbreak, was quarantined on January 23rd. Now, from January 23rd to February 19th, which was the day before yesterday, they already switched twice of how they play these numbers. Remember, on February 13th, one day, their total number of patients increased more than 14,000. So it was jump from the previous day of 34,000 some numbers to more than 48,000. Now, what happened was the official explanation from Chinese regime was that they switched the measurements, the way to measure who is infected, who is not. They basically say, well, prior to February 12th, they counted only the patients who were tested by the nucleic acid detection. If you are tested positive, they will count you in. But however, they didn't count the patients if they identify by CT scan that you have it, right? They don't count those numbers. They only count it if you are tested positive. Now, on the February 13th, they say, okay, we're going to count all the patients that's been identified by CT scan that they have been infected. So that number basically jumped 14,000. Now, here comes the question on the 19th. On the 19th, what happens is Wuhan city reported a total 615 new patients. But however, the Hubei province, the entire province that include Wuhan city, only reported 349. See, if you have one city already 615, how can you have a whole province, including the city, only 349? So there is a big controversy.
I think that a significant problem develops when a medical problem is being managed by political managers. Right?
That is correct. Let's go back to the story, the numbers. So they actually came out, the Chinese regime came out and say, well, we are changing back. They are changing back from to the system that if you are tested positive by a nucleic acid detection system, so they are discounting all the CT scan testing positive, right? But however, the total number didn't change. You remember on February 13 when they make the switch, they're counting the CT scan, they increased 14,000. But when they switch back on the 19th to the older system, only counting the nucleic acid detection, the number didn't drop. Didn't they supposed to delete the 14,000? No, they didn't. Didn't delete that. So people, most people believe the reason for that happen is because on February 13th, the same day the total patients number jumped, was the day the Party Secretary General of Hubei Province as well as the Party Secretary General of Wuhan City both get fired. And they replaced by the new leadership, the new Party Secretary General for the province, also for the city, and the new top management, top official in this province as well as in the city. They don't want to take any baggage left over by the previous leadership. So they basically make the number jump, meaning prior to February 13th, there was 14,000 patients, the total number being hidden. Right? It was not reported. And then when they fired the previous leader and then assigned the new leadership, they say, okay, we're not going to take the trouble left over by the previous leadership. So they actually adjusted the number back.
What can you trust? No matter
so
what.
This certainly reveals some of the structural weakness in such a system such as exists in the People's Republic of China. One other question I'd like to throw out, and then I'll clear off the line for your response, if that's okay. Something that is becoming more discernible is the tremendous impact on the trade, international commerce in China, based in this problem presently being based in China. There's whole, the ship, for example, the port in Shanghai, the busiest seaport in the world. It displaced Rotterdam a couple years ago. I'm not sure that's the case this week. Some of the ports have become ghost towns, and it's having a measurable
that makes sense.
Impact on the commerce coming in and out of China, which China is such a productive part of the marketplace internationally that is rippling around the world now. How much that will affect the economy in China and around the world, we can only speculate, but the answer is yes. Yes, it will. Yes, it is. Any comment you have on that, I would appreciate hearing, and I'll clear off the line now, okay? And thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dan in Pacific Grove, and we're going to have your cohort, Steve in Pacific Grove, on next.
Oh, thank you, Dan, for the question. For talking about the trade, talking about Shanghai become a ghost town. Shanghai is like New York.
Port, he was saying, just the
port. Yeah, of course. Shanghai, that city, it's like New York in the United States. Yeah, it's basically it's a
much bigger population.
Right. So. Shanghai, it's got a 24 million people population.
Yeah.
It's looked like a ghost town right now. Most of all, it's largely because the city has been quarantined. But so the people are not allowed to leave their homes. Actually, not their homes, their districts. So I'm not sure if people understand how the quarantine goes in China.
Please let us know.
Now, the quarantine in China, it different from one city to another city, one province to another, and one district to another district. So in the most strict quarantined residential district, what we find out is they will have everyone stay in your own condo. You can't leave your own condo. And every family is going to get a permit, or they call it ticket, once or twice a week, meaning one person each week will have one or two persons, okay, each week will have that ticket to leave your home to go out to buy food. All right. So you are, you stay your house in the whole time. No, you cannot go to gym. You cannot go out to even walk around your own building. You cannot.
What happens if you do? I'm dying to know.
Well, they will arrest you. They will arrest you.
But they won't execute you.
Of course, probably not. Right now, there's a lot of public attention on these things. They won't. Chinese regime, it's really bad. But however, you cannot say they're stupid. They're very smart. Okay, the Chinese regime, they are inhuman, but they are very smart. So they don't want to create trouble for themselves. Now, so that's one way. In the most restricted, the areas that's imposing most strict quarantine rules. Now, there's other areas that's a little less flexible because maybe they're less infected. There's a less number being reported about the total number of patients. So people can they're quarantined. They are allowed to go out to walk in their own district. When one district or residential area being quarantined, meaning they will block all the roads, block all the access. There is only one way in and out of that area. And then if you go online and order your food, all the mails will be cut off. There's no mail delivery.
Jeez.
And there's no mail delivery, and then but however, you can go online to order the food. When the food is delivered, they don't deliver to your door, okay? They deliver to an designated space that's probably near the entry of the quarantine boundary, and then you go pick them up. So
you are allowed to go out of your home for that much.
Well, yes. Well, you get it with special permit, right? So
you gotta get a special permit.
Well, that's the way it is. And
sort
also
of sounds like Santa Cruz, city or county. Actually, you need to.
I'm not sure about the situation of Santa Cruz, but
you need to get a permit to break wind in Santa Cruz City or county.
Now, if you living in the city that's been quarantined, basically they are going to block all the freeways, all the roads coming in and out of the city. But if you drive a private car, you have no luck to get out or get into the city, basically. But if you are military personnel, if you are doing the delivery to deliver the supplies, or if you are medical teams with special permits, that's the only personnel that's able to get in and out of the city. So that's what happened in China, talking about the quarantine and also the information. Now, talking about the trade, yes, the China's economy is going to be seriously impacted by the coronavirus outbreak this year. So on February 11th, the Chinese regime has already started allowing allowing the industries in the area that's not being heavily infected to start their production. But however, it's really a slow recovery from a quarantine condition, because people like it's a Chinese New Year celebration time, right? From the January 25th to February 10th, the 15 days, it's the Chinese New Year celebration, because of 25th was the Chinese Lunar New Year. So Chinese people traditionally celebrate for 15 days. So after that, people start coming back to the place they work, right? For that 15 days, most of them travel home.
Right.
They're not even at the cities they work. So because the travel restriction, and because most of the cities have the quarantine rules that if you come back from outside of the area, you have to stay home for 14 days. So therefore, it's a very slow recovery to the production. So most people...
What must this be doing to the economy?
Well, they are trying to. That's what the Chinese regime trying to get the economy going back without really 100% to get rid of the virus outbreak, right? The problem is even with that kind of cautious steps. We're talking about this year. Probably China's the first quarter. It's pretty much gone, right? By the time your production going back to the normal level,
exactly.
Your first quarter is pretty much done. So China last year have 6.1% increase of GDP. So this year probably a lot of people expecting less than 5% of GDP growth. The slowest ever since the late 90s. So that's going to be a huge impact to China's economy and to the real estate industry in China. Now, I'm not sure if you know that the Chinese a real estate company has been coming to the Wall Street to issue these short-term financial notes with 12% return rate. Now, if the real estate get busted in China, we are going to see another financial meltdown in the United States.
Wow. I want to talk about that more in detail next hour, but let's now go to Steve in Pacific Grove. Steve, thanks for waiting. You're on the Saturday special with Nan Su.
I love you, MZ. Hey, listen, that gentleman, the last point he made, here in Pacific Grove, a lot of Chinese investors come over here and buy the high-end houses, and he's absolutely right. And what that gentleman is talking about is there's no sanctuary cities in China. I mean, when you go there, you're there. And you talk to anybody that's done business with those people, it's serious business. I mean, there's no letting go. Once you take on the communist Chinese, you better have your stuff together because those people mean business. And I like your gentleman, and I appreciate the fact that you have him on, and he's talking about some serious facts. And I just wanted to call and thank you very much for letting that man state his piece.
Wow. He's helping me create great KSCO content. So, and thank you for the kind words, Steve, in Pacific Grove. Here comes the next caller, Nick in Boulder Creek. Hey, Nick, you're on.
Hey there. I have a stupid question. So I listen to Coast to Coast a lot, and they were talking about this virus the other night. And one of the comments that the person made was that so far only Asians have been affected by this virus. And they're looking into it being a biological warfare weapon, and where the provinces that the epicenter is, there was an actual a center of disease control that has the virus right nearby that market. Have you heard anything about this only affecting Asians and not Caucasians or any other races? And secondly, have you heard anything about the chemical warfare from the CDC there in China?
Yes, thank you for the wonderful question. Right now, there is two controversial going around, and then people talk about. There's actually you're talking about two things. You have a good question, but you get the information a little bit mixed up. One is called Center of Disease Control, the CDC of Hubei province. That organization has their office is located probably just within 300 feet from the Huanan seafood market, where they right now that's the location where they say that the virus started outbreak from. But they also reported the CDC that's near the market. That place they do test of virus. They do test to test the coronavirus. And then people talk about possibly actually the virus the outbreak was actually start from the CDC instead of Huanan seafood market. That's one controversial a point that's being talked among the society. Now, there's another one, the virus research. That's a different organization people also talk about. It's called Wuhan P4. Wuhan P4, it's a BSL level 4. BSL level 4 means biosafety level 4 lab, but that's the highest safety level that's being designated by a World Health Organization. Now, Wuhan P4, it's the full name is called Wuhan Institute of Virology. That's belong to China's. That's belong to China's one of the China's Chinese Academy of Science. So it's also a designated research lab by World Health Organization. Now, what this lab was registered as a BSL biosafety level 4 lab back in 2015. But however, this lab is also very pretty close to the Huanan seafood market. Okay, now this lab published the paper back in 2015. The academic paper said basically ever since the end of SARS back in 2003, they have been making huge efforts to track down the origin of SARS and coronavirus. So they finally found the original source of the SARS and coronavirus in Yunnan province in China, carried by bats.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, and then in that paper, the academic paper was published in November of 2015. You can still find it online. I'm not sure in English language, but however, absolutely available in Chinese language. You can find the academic paper. In the same paper, they say, well, they identify the source of SARS and coronavirus, but they also say they are going to put a test of coronavirus, the effect of the infection of coronavirus to the monkeys or the animals, basically. So basically the situation is we don't know if they did a test or not. Or we don't know if when they do the test, if there's any possibility of a leak of the virus, or we don't know if the virus will transform when they are imposed to put on the bodies of monkeys. So we don't have the following information. Now, that's how the discussion is being carried around in the society, because people don't have a government with a system of information transparency, and they try to hide all the, people always feel that government is hiding something from them. But so people in the society raising all kinds of questions about this.
We're at the end of hour number 1 of the KSCO Saturday Special with special guest Nan Su talking about the coronavirus. Amy in San Francisco.
At the limit, Highway 101, Salinas to San Jose and back. You guessed it, also at the limit as well. It's currently 59 degrees outside KSCO. Today we're expecting a high of 61. Overnight temperatures, we're going to be getting down to the low 40s all across the board. And come Sunday, we'll be seeing a high of 62, mostly sunny skies again, making for lows getting back down into the lower 40s for Sunday night. And your KSCO News Talk time is 11:06. Time now for hour number 2 of the Saturday Special right here on KSCO.
Hey, Josh Stevens, you know what I just thought of?
What'd you think of, MZ?
We haven't said a word about the amazing Dave Michaels.
We haven't, and
this is an outrage. This is terrible. We have to fix that.
Should I go badger him?
Yeah, go badger him, and have him come in, and I'll play the hour 1, hour 2 open music. we're going to hear from Jaunty, then we're going to hear from Amy, then we're going to hear from Rory, and then we're going to have a story, not a very good story, but a necessary story related by our guest Nan Su. So here's hour 2, a special opening here.
Oh, hello, darling. I hate to hang up on you, but I'm sorry, baby, but I have to go. It's time for that wonderful record show. I'd love to visit, but you'll have to call back. KSCO has the inside track.
Welcome to hour number 2 of the KSCO Coronavirus Special with Nan Su and me and you.
I'm sorry, baby, but I really gotta go to KSCO Radio. Bye.
Dave Michaels, are you there?
I'm here, MZ. How are you?
I'm good, Dave Michaels. I'm so ashamed that we didn't promote your Dave Cave sale.
Well, it's okay. I'm out there until 2 o'clock. I'll be out there. I'm out there every Saturday from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. with fantastic deals on your favorite longevity products. Today's focus, it sounds like, should be on PureWorks. Now, this is excellent.
Do we have plenty of it?
Oh, we have plenty of it. This is antibacterial, antiviral. It will kill any of the stuff that threatens to make you sick. You want to rub
and
your...
not just for a minute while the alcohol dries. It's going to be for hours, right?
Yeah. I would suggest with deals like this, MZ, that you just slather your whole body full of this stuff, because with prices like today's, you'd be silly not to.
Yeah, should we? Well, no, you're right. We want to do right. Good. As long as we have enough. I take it with me all the time, except when I forget.
Right. Well,
then I feel terrible. It'll be just my luck that one of those times when I forget is when I pick up some terrible virus.
Right. It's too late by then. So stop by, pick it up today. We've got it out there at the Dave Cave, 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. I can't believe, MZ, that we still have a bunch of Occutive left. Unbelievable. This stuff sells like hotcakes, but we have about 6 or 8 left. Occutive is for improving your vision. This is for a better eye health.
Have you found, Dave Michaels, that when you promote something specifically, a specific product, that it flies off the shelf almost immediately?
It definitely helps. I expect to sell a few Occutive now because, number one, we have them, and number two, the great price on them, and, it's excellent for your vision. It's, that's what it's designed to do.
That's good.
Yes.
And we're gonna place the new order, which I keep forgetting. There's Jaunty, who's up next, recorded a wonderful promo about how forgetful I am.
Really?
Because everything is right on. In fact, Josh Stevens, can you find that promo and play it? Can you find it?
I'm sure. Try and fetch it.
Okay. Yeah. See if you can fetch it and play it. And because it's so true, because I forget everything. I even forget to order a longevity master pallet order 2 weeks after we should have, because our shelves are almost bare when it comes to certain products like BTT, right, Dave Michaels?
Yes. Well, MZ, if you're the type of person that forgets things, or maybe you want to do something and forget about it, might I suggest Bloomin' Minerals? Get your garden ready. Just sprinkle it out there on your dirt. Let the rain take care of it. Hopefully we get some more rain. If not, then, whatever.
And we have so much of that.
Yes.
If people are I don't want to be one of those people that says anybody would be a fool not to buy this. Because I hate those kind of people. And they're such arrogant people, and here I'm starting to sound like one myself. But it's true that if you get the jump on it, we got the jump on it this year for the first time ever. Bloomin' Minerals has always been a fantastic product. It's not fertilizer, it's a soil additive.
Right.
It gives the soil all the minerals that it needs, just like the body needs all the minerals that it needs.
Right.
To function.
And MZ, this is fantastic stuff. You can order it through your longevity dealer. You can go to kscohealth.com and order it there. But if you pick it up here at the Dave Cave, we've already paid the shipping. The shipping's paid. You just pick it up at a great price, no shipping. What more do you want?
Well, paying them to take it would be a better thing.
That would be a bit. That's not going to happen, though. I'll be out there until 2.
That's what I love about you, Dave Michaels. You're totally, totally honest. So thank you, and you're going to be there till 2 today?
Yes, till 2.
Do we have a sale coming up next? Well, it sort of depends on when the shipment comes in, right?
Right.
Okay, which depends on when I order it.
Right. I'm ready to go, though. Whenever it gets here, I'm ready to go.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
now, thanks, Dave Michaels. Now, Josh Stevens, do you have that promo ready to play that Jaunty made?
I don't see any 122s. In fact,
it's not a 122. I don't know what it is. I'm going to have to play it through my iPhone. Unless
or you
Jaunty
could just forward me the email, or Jaunty, if he's listening, could also do that.
Oh, well, he's. I'm sure he's listening because he's on hold. He's the next guy. Even after I promised that our next caller is going to be Amy, and then after that, Rory, I forgot that we have certain house cleaning things that we have to do at the top of the second hour. So let me see. I'm going to, here, probably this is the best way to do it. Jaunty. Hi, Jaunty.
Hey, MZ.
I'm going to put you on the spot. Read the promo. Read the promo that you wrote yourself. It's going to be real tough for
me to do that. Tell you what, guys, I'm here at the opening of this fantastic library in Felton. I'm watching my older daughter run around the playground here. We just watched the ribbon cutting. Felton has a new library. Everyone's really jazzed. I don't have the text of that promo in front of me as a result.
Oh, okay.
But
here's what I'll do.
It's a 60-second spot, if that helps.
I'll find it. Okay, but anyhow, you have other things to clue us in, don't you?
Clue us in?
Yeah. Well, you call. I mean, we've been doing this.
Just email me it so it doesn't sound like potato.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to find it, and I can't find it. Damn it. Okay, so, Jaunty...
well, I can express the gist of it.
Just tell us what you... would you have anything else to discuss today? I'll keep looking.
You know what? I mean, what I was hoping to share was the fact that we're trying to get our first 1,000 subscribers to the Saturday Special newsletter, such that...
I found it.
Oh, you
I
found
can play
cool.
it myself. It's going to sound a little tinny because it's coming out of the iPhone right into the microphone, but here it is.
Hi.
Okay.
This is Jaunty McCollier, KSCO's Director of Digital Media. I need your help with a little something that is, well, personal. Just between you and me, poor old MZ is suffering more and more from age-related forgetfulness. He forgot to tell you that the Saturday Special podcast is available on iTunes and Google Play, and that the Saturday Special has its own YouTube channel. He even forgot to tell you that we have a Saturday Special newsletter, which will be ground zero to continue the conversation off air. I told MZ we'd start mailing the Saturday Special newsletter as soon as we got our first KS. Hi, this is Jaunty McCollier,
Jesus.
Director of Digital Media. I need your help with
here. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna scrub through it here.
I told MZ we'd start mailing the Saturday Special newsletter as soon as we got our first 1,000 subscribers, but he forgot to promote it. So I reminded him. Then he forgot again. Now I'm here with a personal plea. Let's let poor old MZ know that we think the Saturday Special is something worth remembering. Go to SaturdaySpecial.com and sign up for the newsletter now. That's SaturdaySpecial.com. The first 1,000 subscribers will get a special treat you will help us choose. That's SaturdaySpecial.com. Do it quickly before you forget.
Hey, Jaunty, that was a really well-written promo. Do you want to give a clue as to what the special treat is, or do we want to keep people, guessing?
Well, what we're going to do, actually, MZ, I thought, after, of course, consulting you, was that we would just email folks who sign up and say, what would you like the special treat to be? And they can reply to the email, and we'll see what sort of ideas we get.
That is so cool. Yeah, we need to keep reminding people that talk radio is, after all, the original social medium. Original. No one came before us. It's true. We're totally interactive and continue to be, and you don't need a damn computer to use us. Everybody's got a telephone, whether it's a landline or a smartphone or a dumb phone. even. Anyhow, Jonty, thank you so much for writing that fabulous promo that says it all.
Well, sure thing, MZ.
Anything else?
Well, I was.
You want to
go
get with the
enjoy
kids,
this
don't
new
you?
Library. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
All right, well,
I have
send
a
them.
bit.
Send. What is it, Josh Stevens?
We're finally starting to adapt and expand our platform reach. For example, you might know that I work in the newsroom, so we're finally getting our Facebook page for that section rejuvenated. We're finally getting all of our colleagues' headlines written. In fact, we got one that over 2,000 of our KSCO listeners managed to check out.
Wow. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Who can argue with that? So anyhow, we know we have the listeners out there. Just get with the program, gang. Okay, thank you, Jonty. Thank you, Josh Stevens. And now,
cheers.
Let's hear from Amy in San Francisco. Amy, you're on the air.
Yeah. Hello?
Hi, you're on. We can all hear you. Thousands and
Okay.
thousands and thousands and thousands of people can hear you.
I almost forgot what my question is. So Nan Su, and because way so long, and Nan Su, my question, I left China about 38 years ago, so lots of things are just hearsay. And recently I received lots of phone calls from China, and people were so scared. They say they really scared. I just panicked. They told me, they said that they don't know. They was locked in the house, and they not go anywhere, cannot go anywhere, so they don't know when they're going to die. So I said, why is that? Because they told me the state police was go door to door to searching for those patients, maybe prospective patient, and drag them to the place called the Fangchuan Hospital. I think that probably is in the Ground Zero Wuhan area. And then put them in the, it's not hospital, just a bigger room. It's like a camp, like a concentration camp. And put them there and just a bed, so they will measure them. They're going to die or what, infected to other people, then maybe they're not even dead, then put them in the bag, and they maybe just cremated. That's gone. So is that true?
Yes.
Oh, I got to turn your mic on. Sorry. Go ahead.
Am I on?
Yeah, you're
yes. Yes. Thank you, Amy, for the question. Yes, it's actually true that they put people. The police will knock everybody's door. They will take if you are a patient. The story changed at the beginning. The people they try to hide the information of the outbreak. So what happened is a lot of people get sick, but they couldn't have the opportunity to see doctors because the too many people stay a long line trying to get into the hospital to have their health condition checked up. And then later, after the outbreak, they try to control the outbreak. They cannot hide the outbreak anymore, so they try to take all the patients to a quarantine condition. Now, what you call Fangchang Hospital, that's stay for two Chinese characters. One means cabin. Another one means cubicle. It's a cabin cubicle hospital. Now, it's not really the hospital. What they did, what the Chinese regime did, is they will take a stadium or a factory building, basically the buildings with a big floor space, right? They will go in there, quickly divide the floor space into cabins. Each cabin will have 20, maybe 30 patients' beds. And then they will further subdivide the cabin into small cubicles, which each cubicle will have 2 or 3 patients' beds. They will put all the people with symptoms but without the serious conditions yet into those hospitals. Basically, they just quarantine all these patients so they will not...
temporarily created hospitals.
Yes, they will... Well, keep in mind, they cannot treat this disease because there is no real effective medicine available yet out there. They just try to quarantine these people so they're not in contact with anybody else in the society. Once you get into the to those kind of hospital, you're not allowed to get out.
Wow.
And your relatives cannot reach you because they cannot get in. It's the hospital only allowed to be in, but not allowed to be out.
Wow.
And so keep in mind, the people, even they recovered from the disease, they may still be infected, right? So you put all these people, hundreds of thousands of people into one big building, and they are going to cross-infect each other. Even how are you going to get it recovered?
Right.
Right, so that is the one of the concerns people have. How they treat people in those cabin cubicle hospital that temporarily created.
So is this any like a WHO, any international community, they go there to check that out? That kind of facility.
Amy, that's
a concentration camp,
Well, that's a wonderful question, Amy. Well, first of all, so far, the Chinese regime has been refused the American medical teams to go to China. We are going to talk about why a little later. Now, WHO, World Health Organization, has been asking to send the medical team to China. Only ever since the outbreak started, right? Only I think a week ago that Chinese regime allows several experts from World Health Organization going to China, but however, they are not allowed to go to Wuhan city, and they are not allowed to go to the whole province, the Hubei province, right? They're not allowed.
Beijing, Shanghai as a place, right?
Yeah, there are several places that doesn't have a serious outbreak. The World Health Organization's experts were able to visit it. Basically, all these years, you look at the history in the past couple decades, the World Health Organization is just a little puppy to Chinese regime because they got a lot of money and support from the regime. They are entirely bought out by the regime, so they listen to the regime all the time. They are just send their experts to China they will come back to tell the international society the stories the regime want the international society heard.
And the people know. So do you think I have any hope to find out the truth for this whole crisis?
Well, there are.
Great question.
How do we find out the truth? We don't know. I mean, in the history of Chinese Communist Party controlling of China ever since 1949, there have been a lot of truths being hidden, and people never know the real story.
1970s, the biggest earthquake at Tangshan, about 850,000 people died. But even after so many years, now we finally know the number. That time they refused the Red Cross to go there. Nobody knows what's happening in China. The entire town just disappeared, buried underneath.
That's right. That's right.
That's one incident, yeah.
There was a lot of major disasters, events took place in last 70 years of time that people, without knowing the real truth, the real stories behind those disastrous events. But we don't know if this is just going to be another event, disastrous event that's going to be, with real stories hidden forever.
So you're talking about the P4 lab. So there are lots of evidence, you're talking about lots of medical articles published before. So it's all pointing out to they may be actually lots of evidence shows they mutate the virus since the SARS. And then, so probably is man-made. Man-made the virus.
There is several groups of scientists outside of China presenting the evidence that that actually the virus already being changed from of its original form. That's why a couple weeks ago, White House sent a letter to National Academy of Science, Engineering, and Medicine, and asking them to really look for the original source of the virus. What happened is the National Academy sent a letter back to White House to say, hey, we need more evidence. We need to collect the samples. But they are not even allowed to go to China. That's why we talk about people have this suspicion about the source of the virus outbreak, because after January 23rd, the Chinese regime quarantined Wuhan city. Now, on February the 4th, Chinese military sent their top biochemical warfare expert. She is the doctor, Dr. Chen Wei. She's a major general of Chinese army. She's the expert of biochemical warfare to Wuhan P4.
So they control the facility.
That's
and
correct.
That they not collect the evidence. They may just destroy all the evidence.
We don't know. We don't know what happened.
International community to get there.
Right, but first of all, it is a bizarre why you send a biochemical biochemical expert to Wuhan Institute of Virology after the outbreak, right? This is the first thing they did, and why you send it? They have a lot of experts. While the Chinese regime refused the World Health Organization expert to visit Wuhan, refused a medical team to go to China, but then at the same time they send their top biochemical warfare expert to control the Wuhan Institute, the P4 Institute you talk about, the people that worry about that's actually originally the virus was from. So why they're doing that? That really bring the questions and controversials that people have different belief. And besides that, there was another story that's going around also make this whole thing suspicious to people. Now, there is I'm not sure a lot of people ever heard of Remdesivir. Remdesivir, it's a medicine that developed by Gilead Science Incorporated, headquartered in Foster City, Northern California. So they found out this Remdesivir, this is the name of the medicine which was originally developed to treat Ebola, treat Ebola virus. But they actually found that this Remdesivir medicine can treat the coronavirus. But guess what? Now the Gilead Science Incorporated in Foster City, they actually say, okay, Chinese government, China people, you feel free to use it. Either they haven't get their patent right yet. They have not get through the FDA approval process yet. But they say, well, you guys can use it. Now but what makes things interesting is back in January 21st. January 21st, 2 days prior to Wuhan city was quarantined, the Chinese team from Wuhan P4 Institute of Virology, they already applied for patent using Remdesivir, the medicine to treat coronavirus. They are not applying for the patent of the medicine itself, but they apply the patents of using that medicine treating coronavirus. Now that's 2 days. 2 days prior to the city was quarantined. Now you think about that. You will take some time to write a paper. You will take some time to treat patients. You need some time to. How do they even find the medicine? That's like
it must have been pre-planned.
There must be like weeks before.
Way before.
way before. Now here is what happened in January, on January 18th, right? January 18th, that's 7 days before, the Chinese New Year, which was on 25th. So Chinese tradition is like a week prior to the Chinese New Year, they have a celebration of a small Chinese New Year.
Yeah.
Now in Wuhan City, they have a traditional. There was an annual event. There was an annual event to celebrate Chinese New Year called 10,000 Families Banquet. It's a parlor. So in one of the communities, the residential districts in Wuhan, it's called Baibuting district. They community. They have actually 10,000 families actually come together with a big parlor.
Wow.
Now that's only on the 18th. Just 3 days prior to Wuhan P4, Wuhan Institute of Virology, to claim patents of treating, coronavirus by this American medicine. So that really
something smells
very fishy, right?
Yeah.
So that is how the people start worry. What is the government that's hiding from us? And now, Chinese State Department spokesperson, because she tried to criticize American government not helping Chinese regime. They say ever since January the 3rd, they already start talking to American government to inform what's the outbreak was about.
That's almost 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's earlier.
Started. Yeah.
Right.
Surely.
And then China's President Xi, actually on February 7th, he came out, he said, ever since January the 7th, he already making orders to treat this disease outbreak. So now what happens on all the way from, the January 3rd, they start informing American government to January 20th, that's 20 days. They are allowing these like 10,000 families parlor together celebrating Chinese New Year, but they already know the outbreak is happening. This is a contagious disease, but they don't let the people living in Wuhan know the truth. So this is what happened. That's why people in China and living in those societies are really angry about because they feel the suspicious. There are a lot of stories being hidden by their government.
Amy, your background. I'm sorry, background. Your background, Amy, is so interesting because you lived in for many years and communicate with many friends and family, presumably now. I want to leave you on if it's okay with you, but we want to get to some other callers. If that's okay, I want to, and feel free to and any of the other callers might want to ask a question of either Nan or Amy. But let's go to Rory in Watsonville. Has been waiting for 45 minutes. You have a question for Nan, and welcome to the Saturday special, Rory.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a good thing I take the vitamins or minerals. I would have forgot what I was doing. to follow up Amy's, all in good fun. Nan, thanks for your time, your publication, and your expertise. I appreciate it. Just a quick question. Aside from all the where did it come from and how was it so virulent, it is curious, though, these flu outbreaks are all starting in China, these gnarly bird flu, SARS, whatever, pig flu, or swine flu, excuse me. What's the latest epidemiological guess, epidemiological guess as to how this virus is going to run? Are there experts weighing in on how long, how virulent, what's the lifespan of this particular outbreak expected to be?
So far, thank you for the question, first of all. So far, there is no expert that's really giving a definite answer to your question. They only talk about this from the experience of dealing with SARS back in 2003, when the weather gets warmer, probably by the time of May or June that's coming, and when the weather gets warmer, this virus is going to basically die down. That's their most optimistic estimate. But so far, there's no real very effective medicine treating this disease. Basically, they just once you get it, you are asked to be self-quarantine, or they will quarantine you until you recover. They will give you some virus medicine to help you, but none of them it's really effective. That's what happened. What's happening right now?
Yeah. Last question is, why is it that it's not really taken off in other countries? I mean, the U.S., last I heard, 15, 16 cases total. You think it's because of the quarantining in China, or is it living conditions there that made it so rampant? What's your thought? And then I'll listen off the air. I'll bail out here. Thank you, Nan.
Oh, thank you for the question. I think that the most the reason that it's not going taking a lot of outbreaks in the societies outside of China, it's every country that they have a transparency on information. So you look at, for example, here in Santa Clara County, the health department is going to give a press release, a press conference after every case taking place. So while in China, the reason the outbreak took place in such a large scale is really they trying to hide the information, because we know now the first case was discovered in December, in the middle of December. Now, December 30, there's 8 doctors in China, in Wuhan City. They went on to their social media and warned their friends and families there's a SARS outbreak taking place. And all the 8 doctors was later being questioned by police department and asked them to sign a document to claim they are spreading rumors and promise not to spreading the rumor again. And that's back in the end of December. So that's why it takes so long until the 20s, January 20s, like more than 20 days later, only more than 20 days later, the Chinese regime came out publicly to say, oh, that is a contagious disease. So that is really the major reason causing the outbreak, and because they don't have information transparency, and so they don't treat their patients immediately in a timely way. So that's really the reason causing the outbreak. While you see the outside of China, people, once they got one patient, they immediately make an announcement. They immediately alert everyone, washing your hands, and they all immediately give a news conference to warn the society. They immediately go after the people's being in contact with that person, and then ask all these people, stay home, and then they're watching their conditions on a daily basis. So it's really the immediate action that's taken by all these public health systems outside of China that make the difference. While in China is totally different. It's a very effective and efficient system, top-down direction system. So if there is anything, the decision being made in the central government, the communist top leader of the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, they will be executed very effective and efficient. But however, if there's anything happen in the grassroots level in the society, every level of official, they will be hesitate to let the public know what's going on. They will be waiting for the decisions from the upper level government. So, and that's why it takes so long to, report level after level and after level, and then coming back with the orders level after level of level. Now think about it. If this thing is going on in our society in America, if there's one case happen in the city or in the county, how the White House is going to know? Most likely, he's going to learn that from the media report, right? He's not going to learn that from the levels of reporting system. So that's why it's so different. Our response is much quicker because we have a transparency of information, of the freedom of press and freedom of speech that's protected.
Wow.
But in China, every level of government official, they are there to protect the special interests of the ruling party, Chinese Communist Party. So they are there in the decision-making process. The first thing comes to their mind is, what is the party order going to be? So they report it, and then they will just wait. So that's what happened, So that's what resulted so many deaths toll so far in China.
And it could be way more than that, probably is. Colonel Terry is our next caller here, and Amy is still on. If you want to ask a question of Amy, who has experience, she's on with us. But Colonel Terry, you're on.
Yes, directed at both your guests. I like to look at the big picture, and the big picture is the relationship we have with, I'll call it still, Red China, and the oligarchic Communist Party and all of the corrupt people that are in business and industry and who have engaged in theft, stealing our patents, stealing our intellectual property, stealing our technology, and stealing jobs of millions of American manufacturing employees. I've got evidence that the Clinton administration knowingly transferred in trade deals that were giveaways to Red China 4 million U.S. skilled manufacturing jobs at a minimum. Those are gone forever. Now, and again, my big question to your guests are, what do we do, those of us who respect the big picture? Do we absolutely tell Red China and the Xi government, you're not going to steal our technology, you're not going to violate our patents, you're not going to steal our jobs, and also manipulate economically to steal our currency value?
Hey, Colonel Terry, isn't that what our president, whom you love and adore?
No, I agree.
I say that facetiously.
Yes. No,
isn't that exactly what our president has been doing?
See, don't divert me. Trump has lots of flaws. However, he is correct on immigration, and he is correct on the trade deals being bad. Now, enough said there. But corrections, the solutions involve far more, I think, than Trump is willing to do. And I'd like very astute, informed folks to, what do we do, those of us who want justice for our country and the whole planet, so that the Red Chinese, the authoritarian abuses of their government show they will not be honest with us on international trade? How do we require them to do that and protect American and even European jobs?
So can I say something?
Go ahead, Amy.
Yeah, and I think this time, this coronavirus crisis is a wake-up point.
Good.
For America, also for the Western world. And also the hope is, I think, de-globalization. Because for the last 30 years, the globalization made China filthy rich.
Yes.
But this also takes two to tango.
Yeah, it made some Chinese still.
Yeah, for 30 years, you think about that. So the people supporting globalization, most of the bigger companies, because you get a big market, you make lots of money. So they like globalization. But this globalization right now, I think at least set up for reverse. I think it's a time, it's a turning point. Because this international policy, they think will be developed after to matching this called the internationalization of the economy. Actually, simply has not happened because it's totally different political system.
Correct. Well, how do we require Red China be honest with us?
Well, I think Trump is the first president doing this right now.
Okay.
So I hope he has 2 more terms, because it's not take 1 more term to finish the job.
Well, a Democrat could also be strong, finally, on Chinese trade.
Yeah, the point is...
Not Bloomberg.
I didn't say that.
Who else? Who are you suggesting, Colonel Terry?
Steyer.
Dems.
Tom Steyer's my favorite.
Oh, okay.
But now, the gentlemen, what is our big solution? What do we do to stop this transfer of our economic wealth to some in China, to the greediest at the top of the party? And again, so the world and our own workers are treated fairly. What is your solution, please?
Colin, Terry, thank you for your question. First of all, I want to make a correction about what you say about 4 million manufactured job that we lost to China. That's actually a not correct number. In 2018, there's a report, research report done by Market Watch. You can check that report from Google that was published in June of 2018. That report says from 1999 to 2010 only, from only that period of time, 1999 to 2010, that we lost total 6 million manufacturing jobs, mostly to China, which accounts the total 1/3 of total manufacturing job in the U.S. So total 1/3 from that 10 years of time, we already lost mostly to China, and we lost more after 2010, so which was not counted by the research report. Going back to your question, I think the answer is very simple. It's called tariffs.
Yes.
The tariffs, it's doing everything, and also the treaty. Now, there's 2 things that we are thinking, a lot of people thinking, what we have been negotiating with China on the negotiation table since January of 2018, that's when the solar panel system was got to increase the tariff by Trump administration from China. The solar panels from China got to increase the tariff. That's how the trade war started, right? Yep. Now, if you look back, a lot of people do not understand what it's been negotiating on the table. A lot of people think that it's the job opportunity, that it's the intellectual property, that it's the fair opportunities of competition when American business going to China, that's the unfair trade subsidies by Chinese government to China's export companies. But that's actually not what's been negotiating. If you really understand the negotiation has been negotiating really nothing more than what Chinese regime promised almost 20 years ago, back in 2001, when we allowed China's entry to WTO. 20 years later, year after year after years of negotiation, we are still negotiating China to do what they promised to do 20 years ago. So the negotiation is really about to keep it's really about to make Chinese government do what it promised. If you look at the behavior pattern of Chinese regime, it's the same behavior pattern with North Korea on nuclear stuff. They will make promise, they will break it. They will make it again, they will break it again. That's what China did. But that's just not in nuclear stuff. They're negotiating with us on economy, intellectual property, all these things. They make a promise many, many, many times. And 20 years later, we are still negotiating with them and ask them to keep their promise. That's what it's been really negotiated. And what changed the game It's simple. It was the tariff. It was the tariff that changed the entire ball game. So they really make a Chinese government come back to the negotiation table. Number one, that's number one. Number two, if you look at the new trade deal that's signed by the Trump administration and China, they really gave the details. Really the details, not the promise. We don't want their promise. We cannot trust their promise anymore. But we gave the detail to line out how much you have to buy this month for whatever the products. They gave the name, even gave the name of the products, that this is what you're going to buy next month, and lay out the next couple of years they're going to buy like 200 billion, whatever the stuff, the details of what they need to buy, and they go back to check. There's a mechanism that's built in the trade deal that every month you have to accomplish this goal. If you don't accomplish this goal, we're going to give you tariffs increase. So that is how the mechanism that's been built in the new trade deal between the federal administration and China. They really have a check and balance system that's inside the trade deal to check, how you are going to fulfill your promise. That's why this trade deal comes many rounds of negotiation back and forth, and finally get signed. And they are still, this is the phase 1 deal. There is a phase 2 that's going to come. But Trump already said that's probably not going to happen until the election, right? After the election, they will probably start all over again on the phase 2. But this new trade deal, it's really how to provide details and step-by-step and check and balance procedures to check how Chinese government, with a timeline each month, what the goal they need to fulfill. So that's how the tariffs and the new trade deal, which is built on new concept, to make sure Americans not losing the job opportunities to China, not losing our intellectual property rights to China, not going to compete with China when American business go to China with an unfair opportunity that's defined by a Chinese government.
So we must be much tougher and specific.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, just like our president is, right?
Can I add one more thing?
Yes.
I don't think we need the WTO, because WTO has two main functions as a forum and where comprehensive trade deals are negotiated, and to provide the court where trade dispute between countries can be settled. It is currently doing neither. So we don't need it. So Trump is right. Just all the trade, all the tariff, whatever, so one-on-one. We don't need a WTO.
Well, thank you for your wisdom. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Colonel Terry. Charles Edwin Shipp, one of our new listeners in Southern California, and the driving force behind the Rush. What is it, Rush? The thing you do for Rush.
Rush Echo Notes. Yes, we do that. And looking forward to talking about politics next week, because it is just before Super Tuesday. I think that this conversation is so important. And
turn down the radio, please, Charles, because we're getting all kinds of interference.
I will just turn it off.
Yeah.
And one of the things, I have a personal story about the situation, but I also wanted to make sure, if Nan Su, if it's not too secret, can you give us your email address?
You can email me Nan Su. That's NANSU. That's NANSU at Epoch Times. Epoch Times, EPOCHTIMES. Epoch Times. .myc, that New York City, NYC. So if you can send, you're welcome to send me email. Yes.
Okay. I was looking at the article on Epoch News, and I'm going to subscribe to it. And I looked in the article for your email address. I didn't see it. So anyway, before I ask a question, my question is, there's a lot of poor in India, and I wonder if the poor are more disease prone because, if it gets over there, well, it probably is already over there. But I wanted to mention my brother and his wife had been serving in Hong Kong for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and actually they're in the Asia area mission covering 20 countries, and their purpose was to take the education weekend for youth that they have at BYU, Utah, to the 20 countries. And as soon as this went out, this announcement, the LDS Church gave them 3 hours, pack your bag, you're out of there. So they are very disappointed, but they're able to keep in contact with electronics with the leaders in the half of the 20 countries. But the ones in Cambodia and Thailand, they're not going to be able to hold that because they can't have their youth all to come together. They're very disappointed, but they're hoping it will be solved. So my question then is, what do you think about India and the poor?
I think, first of all, I think India is a great country, and 1/3 of Chinese culture was generated from India originally, the Buddhism. That's pretty much, if you count China's tradition, 1/3 of China's tradition was from India. I think India is a great country, very energetic, and then they are changing in the way much better than the change that took place in China ever since 1978. China opened to the international society because they preserve their culture. That's very important. If you think why we just talk about the Chinese regime, it doesn't keep its own promise. Why? Because that is the regime without any culture. All the traditions and culture and faith being wiped out in China. So it end up China, it's a country right now without any higher ethical and moral standard. And India is changing in the way, trying to preserving their tradition and their culture while moving forward with the new technology. I think Indian people Indian society are doing a much better job than the Chinese regime. And I think the Chinese regime is the main problem of China's future development.
Nan Su, you are fantastic. I hope Trump team consulting with you.
All right. Hey, thank you,
I'm
Charles.
a reporter.
Charles Schiff. Great to hear from you. Thank you. Our apologies to Vicky in California and Rich in Salinas. We're at the end of the program. We got less than a minute left. Want to thank Amy in San Francisco and Nan Su from Epoch Times. Got to get you back again. I mean, you should. This is what you know. Should be much more readily available, I think. So that's about it for the Saturday special for today. And tomorrow is the Old Timers annual luncheon at the Portuguese Hall in Santa Cruz. I'm going to be there. It's going to be great. And let's see, we have just enough time left for me to play the That's All, Folks.
That's all, folks.
You're listening to KSCO. 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 To KSCO.